The fear, confusion, hatred, and the fear of evil are what drove the witch craze in early modern Europe. This period dates from 1520 to 1650. Those living in Europe during those times saw many changes. The Reformation led to a heightened awareness of the evil in almost all cultures throughout the continent. As the times changed, these fears came to light and led to mass hysteria, moral panic, and the lynching of many innocent people. Post-1560 is when the witch craze hit its peak. Many citizens often found themselves targeted as witches for flawed and ridiculous reasonings.
From the 15th to the 19th century, the fear of witches had grown rampant. In the Bible, Michael Archangel states the world was infested with Satan's demons. This statement is one that is referred to in the trials. The idea that the citizens had to get rid of Satan's army had grown as the fear of witches grew. Being a witch was considered something that was far worse than any crime committed on earth. There are several great thinkers that had contributed to this witch scare. Martin Luther interpreted one of the passages from the Bible stating that all forms of heresy fell into the category of persecution. John Calvin interpreted the Bible and had literally stated that there were men who were possessed and had surrendered their soul to Satan. These great thinkers helped solidify the meaning of the certain passages from the Bible, and the reality of witches became a more concrete concept to the people of the time. John Bodin's writings explained how those who do wrong to the government are also doing wrong against God, which explains why the judicial system at the time had decided to conduct witch trials. Bodin goes on to explain how those in power disgrace God as they let those who are actually witches off the hook. The trials was no longer a separate and unbiased judicial trial, rather a very personal one that had to do with their own relationship with God. About 1 million people had died from the witch scare, from the 13th century to the 19th century. Historians have collected data supporting the evidence that food shortages, the cold temperatures of Europe, and the poor economic conditions may have been another cause for the large-scale violence that had occurred. Witches were blamed for these external conditions, for they were rumored to control weather conditions.
The way women were looked at in this time period was a complete 180 as we view them today. Back in this time from 1450 to 1750, women were seen as less significant or important as men were. In this time, Catholic Inquisition authorities had published, "What else is a woman but a foe to a friendship? An unescapable punishment, a necessary evil, a natural temptation, a desirable calamity, domestic danger, a delectable detirement, an evil nature painted with fair colors. Women are by nature instruments of Satan. They are by nature carnal, a structural defect rooted in the original creation." As we can see by this, women were not treated with any respect, and they were thought to be evil beings. People believed that they were basically the devil's workers, walking around, creating evil and just covering it up by having fair skin and beautiful features. In reality, these women were just independent, which was abnormal to most people during this time. These women were more vulnerable to accusations of being witches. The society could not grasp this unusual behavior, and because of this, tried to control it through horrible acts. These independent women were viewed as witches because people needed some type of scapegoat because they were not used to women being so independent. What they would do to these women who were accused of being witches is that they would hunt them down. They would then bring the accused witches before investigation tribunals, and they would interrogate them. Most of the accused would confess to witchcraft, but only because of the brutal tortures that they were put through.
There were many different things that could define a witch. Theories and rumors were a big part of it. One such rumor is the Lilutu spirit, who flew out at night and slept with men and killed their children. There was the theory of weather magic, which was the belief that sorcery could be used to change the weather in order to destroy. Lycanthropy was the ability to shapeshift into an animal by the assistance of the devil, who had an enormous part in this witch craze. The devil was said to be sexless, but was usually seen as a man for his masculinity. This created the belief that most witches were women, who were seduced and taken in by the devil himself. According to some, a demonic spirit had a sexual intercourse with these women, making them submit themselves sexually to their master, Satan. The most common charges of witches was for the ritual murder of the children that was often followed by cannibalism. If this wasn't the case, they boiled the children and used their fat for magic. In the case of the Orleans heretics, witches were known to meet underground or in an abandoned building. They lit torches and chanted, calling for demons until they appeared. Then the torches were put out, and all members were to have sexual intercourse with whoever was closest to them, no matter who it was. The children conceived at these orgies were then sacrificed in a fire just a week after their birth. It is said that their ashes were used in Holy Communion. When these witches were accused, many denied. If they confessed, surprisingly, nothing happened to them, and they were released. If they denied, they were hung. These hangings always occurred in the presence of a hangman, a bellman, 2 sergeants, and the witch finder. Hello, today we are here interviewing mob leader Andy.
Hi.
Hi. So what brings you here today?
So we have witches among us, and we need to rid the village of these witches before things get bad.
Okay, so what do you plan on doing about this?
Well, the only thing we can do right now is to catch them. And then once we catch them, we put them on trial. And then we kill them, because pretty much that's the only way to get rid of the demons inside them.
Do you believe this is the only way to do it?
I believe that is the only way to do.